Morning, everyone. You all look great in your green. I didn't wear any green, and then I walked by the guy playing the bagpipes. I don't know if you heard him. And then he noticed, and I was really embarrassed about it. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about how to turn your business blog into a customer machine. But first, let me introduce myself because I don't work here. And so you might be expecting someone who works here, but I don't. I own a small digital marketing company called Charm House. So my name is Anna. I'm so happy to be here today. And I'm originally from Oklahoma City. I'm a content marketing strategist. Content marketing is my passion, and we'll talk about the parameters of content marketing today. You'll be really aware of what that is by the end of this presentation. And I'm also a retired digital nomad and travel addict. And so if you haven't heard the term digital nomad, it means that I spent the last year and a half traveling the world while working completely remotely on my laptop because I'm addicted to traveling. And that's actually why I started my company. So that I could do, I was like, what can I do that will let me travel the world while I work? And so I started a marketing company. I won't talk about this a lot today because that's not the topic of this conversation, and we have a lot of things to go over, but these are just a few pictures I put together because they're fun. This top one, I lived and worked on a remote island in the Philippines for 5 months, 2014 and 2015, and that was literally my office, and that was not photoshopped. That's what it looks like. And here I'm on a rooftop in Bangkok working on Charm House. And here, I'm not in this picture, but this is in Saigon, Vietnam, where I lived for 9 months. And basically the whole city looks like that. Like it's just like a crazy, like the cars never stop. It's fantastic, I'd recommend it. So that's kind of where I've been. And I only tell you guys this so you know who you're taking advice from, know a little bit about my background. This is my company, Charm House Marketing. We do content marketing, general digital marketing strategy, mostly for small businesses, social media marketing, email marketing. And my office is in the Plaza District at the Barn, which is a lovely co-working space. You should come by anytime, it's so beautiful. And that's my email. If you have any questions after this presentation, feel free to contact me. My contact information should also be available through Rebecca, Lift People, Anna@charmhouse.io. This is my wonderful team, and I've met Brian and Chrissy, but I've literally never met Lane in person in my life. But we communicate every day, and she's fantastic. Really quick announcement before we get into the content today. I am starting a new networking event called Influence and Brown Bag at the Barn. It's at the Barn where I work in the Plaza District, lovely event space. And it's gonna be the first Wednesday of every month beginning on April 6th. It's a combination networking and lunch and learn. It will typically be brown bag, like bring your own lunch, but this first event is being sponsored by the Barn. Graciously, and so lunch is provided. There's a lot more info if you go to this link, so we won't talk about it today, but it's 11:30 to 1, so it's a lunch networking, and there's gonna be a small digital marketing lunch and learn component, just a quick like 15-20 minute tip of digital marketing every time, just for small business owners to kind of like digestibly learn digital marketing kind of on a monthly basis. So there's limited availability though because the Barn is a smaller venue. So RSVP as soon as you can if you plan on coming. These are all the hashtags and handles and everything. So this one's the Lyft one. I think you all are aware of some of these. Here's the hashtag you can use if you want to live tweet or tweet some insights today. And then I have 2 handles, but let's use Hello Charm House. That's the business handle. And it'll also be down here at the bottom of the presentation the whole time if you want to use it. You're welcome to use AE Wickham. That's my personal handle. Don't be confused. It's just, you can just use the Charm House one if you are going to use one at all. And you can also tag Lift sessions there. Okay, really quickly what we're going over today, so you know. First, we'll talk about why you need blogging. Then we're going to go over an example really quickly. Then we'll talk about how you can create a customer machine with your blog for your business or your client. And then we'll have a quick little Q&A session here. So I know blogging is not the trendiest thing. So thank you all for coming, first of all. Everyone wants to talk about Sarah's presentation last time was fantastic. Let's talk about Facebook ads. Those are really trendy, and social media generally. Let's talk about Instagram. That's really trendy, or Snapchat, or Periscope, or maybe even email. But blogging, Anna, are you serious? Blogging, that is so 10 years ago or something, but I hope to convince you by the end of this presentation that it's not, and that blogging and content is still a really important part of your strategy, and more importantly, that it contributes directly to profitability and ROI, which is something that a big idea about blogging is that it's not connected to ROI. So we'll talk about all of this stuff, but this is what we're gonna talk about today. Oh, you can't read that very well, can you? But anyway, it says, top 5 reasons why you don't blog. First, like I just said, blogging isn't connected to ROI or profitability. It's just something you do for branding or awareness or any of these words that most people think are just excuses not to be profitable. This is a big misconception about blogging, and we're gonna talk today about how to make it profitable. No one reads the blog anyway. So I hear this a lot from my clients when they first come to me, or just all kinds of people that I talk to all over the place. Well, we tried blogging and no one read the blog, and so we quit doing it, so blogging doesn't work. Well, you would never start a Facebook page or an Instagram account for your business and then it's not instantly profitable, and so you say, oh, well, obviously Instagram as an entire medium doesn't work, or social media as an entire medium doesn't work. No, there's probably some strategies and some techniques that you haven't tried yet that will make it work. But unfortunately, blogging for some reason, blogging doesn't work. No one reads the blog. It's too expensive to maintain. Creating high quality content is not cheap. That's for sure. It takes maybe someone internally producing it, or hiring on freelancers, and then someone to project manage and make sure everything gets published on time, quality control, all of that. So it's not cheap, but as I tell my clients, it's not about how much money you're spending. In business, it's about ROI. I don't mind spending $5,000 as long as I'm gonna make $10,000. I don't care if, I don't mind spending $200 if I'm gonna make $500. So it's not about the initial investment, it's about the return on investment. It doesn't work in my industry. This is a really common misconception about blogging as well. This is a client of mine made this. They're a cleaning company in LA where you use an app to sign on and order your maids, basically just like a streamlined, modernized maid service. And originally when he came on with me, he said, well, no one wants to read a blog about cleaning, which is true. I don't know about you guys, but I don't. It's like I would never read a blog about cleaning probably. And you don't want to read a blog about like dirty homes or something. That's even worse, right? But that's not what his audience actually cares about. So they're getting a maid because they have other things in life that they care about, that they want to do and spend their time on, other than cleaning their house. So your job as the marketer is to figure out what that is and then create content based on that. We'll talk more about that too. Blogging is an extra, not an essential. So I do hear this a lot. When everything else is done, then we'll update our blog. But as you know, if you're a business owner sitting here, or if you're in marketing, you're never, man, I just ran out of things to do today. I have never in my life said that, and I'm sure you haven't either. Likewise, if you're a business owner, you never think, man, I just have this pile of money sitting here, and I just don't know where to spend it. I know, I'll just invest in blogging, which I don't perceive as a very profitable medium at all. So if you don't perceive blogging as an essential part of your strategy, then I probably wouldn't invest in it either. But today we'll talk about why it should be an essential part of your strategy. This is the content marketing funnel, and this is, in a nutshell, this is what I do for clients. So my business doesn't build websites or anything like that. We create this funnel. So at the top of the funnel, you have your awareness, where they learn about you. Social media, maybe they found you searching Google. Maybe they read about you on another site that they read, a blogger that they respect, or maybe even in the Daily Oklahoman as an influencer in a local market. Then they want to learn more about you. And that's where we use blog content to differentiate ourselves from competition, educate our client as to why or educate our prospect as to why they need our product in the first place, lots of different things. And then from there, we have some form of them, what we call being a hand raiser, raising their hand and saying, okay, I want to know more about you. I may not be ready to buy yet, or I may not even know that I need to buy yet, but I'm interested, I like what I see. And that's the email or kind of hand raiser portion. And then finally down here is the sale. This is what I like to call not the content marketing funnel, and what a lot of people do when they do blogging. They create a blog, there's no funnel, there's no way to get traffic to it, there's no way for people to opt in once they've decided that they like what they read, there's nothing for them to do except maybe buy, and maybe they're not ready to buy yet. So if your funnel looks like this, then your blog probably won't work. But I see this a lot, and a lot of the people say, well, we tried blogging, it didn't work. This is basically, there was no funnel or strategy, just create the content, and my numbers didn't go up, I didn't make more money, so it didn't work. So before we get into talking about how to build your customer machine, I want to talk a little bit more about the benefits of your business blog and what it actually does. So first, content marketing is like building a boat versus swimming. So the swimming is going to be more like your direct advertisement, maybe direct mail, maybe even direct Facebook ads, things like that. So initially, these other methods are going to be more effective. Just like if someone's swimming across the ocean, they're making more progress than the person who's on the shore building a boat. But when you're building a content marketing strategy like the funnel we just talked about, you're building a boat. You're working smarter, not harder, and more importantly, you're building an asset that is going to provide for you months and years into the future. And don't get me wrong, direct mail, direct ads have a big place in marketing, and they can also be there at the top of the discovery phase, at the top of the funnel. But look, when you're building a content marketing funnel like that, you're building an asset that's going to benefit you in the future. We'll talk about that metaphor throughout. You're also going to have recurring or aging ROI, or as I call it, why I can't charge commission. And that's because you will be getting leads from the content we create today. You could potentially be getting leads and customers for months or even years into the future. And that's why this is kind of an exponentially growing ROI over time. So you could be getting revenue and getting leads from the content you created 2 years ago, and yet you've been creating content for 2 years, and you're creating content today that will be delivering you leads in 2 years, and it all builds on each other. So this is why I can't charge commission. A lot of prospects come and say, oh, maybe I can charge you on commission. I'm like, well, that would be a way better deal for me than it would be for you probably. It is ad blocker, Google update, Facebook algorithm update proof. So what I mean is a lot of people think that all internet marketers live in fear of the next Google update or the next Facebook update. Well, what happens when the algorithm changes? And we are admittedly all slaves to Google, who basically own the internet, especially as we all use it in this room. But here's the thing. When you pursue a content marketing strategy and your #1 goal is to deliver value, your goals align with Google's. All Google wants is value. They want to deliver users as much value as possible. So if your goal is also to deliver value and not to be gaming the system with, I don't know, with shortcuts for SEO or something, then you have nothing to worry about, because that has always been Google's goal for 10, 15 years, how long has Google existed? However long Google has existed, that has always been their goal, no matter what updates happen. Same with Facebook. Yeah, Facebook kind of, business owners have kind of a tense relationship with Facebook, and they're giving you declining reach for your audience organically, increasing the prices of ads. I know this is a sensitive topic for all of us, but look, when you're providing value, then you don't have to worry about what Facebook is going to do. because Facebook likewise prioritizes value for its users. And that's why when you have a great article, maybe you've experienced this on when you post something on Facebook for your business. If you post something and it gets a lot of engagement, it gets a lot of clicks, then Facebook will show it to more people. Facebook is fine giving you reach as long as it's highly valuable. So, enough about that. Build assets you own. So I talked about this. I just gave a social media boot camp a couple of weeks ago to a room of small business owners. And in it, we talked about how you don't own your assets on social media. And I'm kind of a social media marketing agency myself, so I'm not against social media at all. But when you build an email list and a content library, those are assets that you own. No one, Facebook or no one else can hold it over your head. You will have that forever. And it is the only way to stand out from your competitors. Content is a great way to show your personality, what makes you different from your competitors, also just to prove yourself and build trust. It doesn't even matter what well, I guess it does matter what you're saying, but basically by consistently showing up with value for free, you're earning trust. You're building a relationship. So this is all going to be a change of perspective. Value is the point of the internet, as I see it and as most content marketers see it, but value is the point of the internet. It's all about relevance. Search is all about relevance. Social media, it's all about relevance. The business is the one who wants something, not the user. So that makes us the giver. I also have a lot of people come to me and say, well, why do I have to do all this hard work? All I want is a customer. I'm just trying to stay in business. Well, you're the one who's making the ask if you're the business owner. And if you're the marketer, you're making the ask on behalf of your employer. So yeah, we are the ones that have to give. And in an increasingly competitive landscape where attention is harder and harder to come by every day, then this is what we have. We have to prove to our audience that we're willing to give. Blog may become an outdated word in the next several years, who knows? But don't think of it like blog. Think of it as free value. And by the way, this doesn't necessarily have to be articles. My business does a lot of written content. And written content is good because Google robots like to read written content. However, video, images, podcasts, galleries, there's all kinds of content that you can provide. So going back to, oh, my industry doesn't like to read articles, and that's very true for some industries. So maybe you need to be doing video. Maybe you should be doing audio. Whatever the case, there is some kind of content that your audience likes to assume, and your job as the marketer is to figure out what that is. And one last quick thing before we go into how to build your machine. Online marketing is less like advertising and more like relationship building. It looks like advertising, doesn't it? Social media, pretty images, having a graphic designer, or maybe having a writer, kind of reminds you of sales and advertising, but it's a lot more like building a relationship over time. And talking about concepts that are never gonna go away, relationship building is how businesses have grown for the history of all of time. It's all been about relationship building. It looks a little different now with all these tools and social media, but that's all it is. It's about earning trust over time. A couple of quotes for you. This is Seth Godin, famous writer on entrepreneurship and marketing. If you show up regularly with generosity, everything else is going to take care of itself. And here's another one. I included it in my presentation a couple weeks ago, but I just couldn't help myself. This is Gary Vee, entrepreneurship extraordinaire. You should all follow him on Instagram and everywhere else. Give value, give value, give value, and then ask for business. If you're just asking for business, then your competitors are offering free value, so that's what you're up against. And then just a few quick stats here. Marketers this is by HubSpot. All of these stats are by HubSpot State of Inbound, which is a big study on inbound, which is kind of another word for content marketing. Marketers who have prioritized blogging are 13 times more likely to enjoy positive ROI. Going back to investment in content, actually inbound is in this study at least, proves to be a lot more cost effective than outbound marketing. And outbound is more like your direct mail, even cold calling, direct sales, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then the companies in this study reported greater ROI than the previous year using inbound marketing strategies, content marketing. So it seems like it's a huge investment up front. It's because you're building that boat and you're not making any progress as you swim. And other people are making progress, but they're swimming. Just keep that in mind. You're building an asset and they're gonna wish that they'd done the same thing. So let's look quickly at a case study. This is a client of mine. Not all the examples are clients of mine, but I just, prefer them because I built this person's funnel. So the Musical You is an online community for people who want to become more musical. And this is a post that we put on Facebook, I guess it was a couple weeks ago now. How to overcome stage fright. It's a piece of content that we created based on our understanding of the audience and what they care about, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. So this is the top of the funnel. Social media is where they find this. And then it takes them to the blog. So here's the top of the blog post, how to overcome stage fright. This is scrolled down in the blog. So they've scrolled down, here's a video about the science of stage fright. And look over here on the right sidebar, join our free mini course. It says, maybe you can't read it. It says 7 shortcuts to becoming a more confident musician. Get instant access. And when you click get instant access, then it's an email opt-in, and they opt into the email. And over the course of 7 days, they get a different shortcut every day in their email inbox. So that's free value. And so you can see there, start at the top of the funnel with social media or discovery in some way. Could have been on Google even. Then we go to content. It happens to be written content with some video interspersed there. We didn't produce that video, obviously. And then it goes to email. That's where they say, yes, I want to hear more from you. This content's really targeted and it's helping me with something that I need help with. Okay, you can't read that either, but it says 5 steps to your customer machine. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about what you can do for your clients, what you can do for your business. The first thing you have to do is get inside your audience's head, just like we talked about with stage fright. First, we have to know that they struggle with stage fright. Otherwise, no one's clicking anything. So I know this isn't fun, and we want to get to work and actually do something and not come up with this audience stuff. But I used to study music, and they always say that in music, something like half the practice happens before you even touch the keyboard. It's like that. But you're like, no, I just want to play. But we're not ready to play yet. First, we have to strategize, okay? But this will be fun, I promise. So you have to get inside your audience's head. What does your audience care about? And it might not be your product. So if you think about Made This, my client who sells cleaning products. So on the surface, you're like, oh, this should be a blog about cleaning. Very common mistake in content marketing. But no one wants to read about cleaning. Do you want to read about cleaning? You guys are a little sleepy, but I'm going to assume you don't want to read about cleaning, and neither does this audience. What they want to read about, so these are your young, upper middle class, LA socialites, maybe not socialites, but like people, they want to go out and do stuff. They enjoy their lives, and that's why they want a maid to take care of these mundane tasks. So we're starting a blog about things to see in LA, things to do this weekend in LA, that's pretty time specific, but ways to enjoy yourself, weekend getaways and trips that you can do. And all of this are the things that people are searching, that this target audience is searching on Google as well. So I think I have some other examples as well. What does your audience want to know that you can't find elsewhere? So this is another quick example I read in a book by Dan Norris. It's called The Content Machine. It's a really fantastic book if you guys are interested in learning more about systematizing your content marketing funnel. Is this swimming pool company. So there's a great example of an industry you're thinking, what could they possibly write about on the swimming pool company blog that's going to be interesting? Well, what they found was that what people really wanted to know was, how much is it going to cost for me to put a pool in my house? And no one wanted to say that. they wanted to say, oh, well, you need to call us and we'll come out and do an estimate for you. Or, I don't know, it just depends on the size and the blah, blah, blah. But people didn't want to hear that. They just want to know, please just tell me, how much is this pool going to cost me to put in my house? And so the swimming pool company started they said, okay, look, this is exactly what it's going to cost you. And their content went straight to the top of Google search results. And immediately they were getting far more business than their competitors because they were willing to dish on the things that their audience really wanted to know. So that's an interesting story. I hope you remember. What are your peer companies delivering? Sometimes your peer companies are wrong, but you can see what's working with other peer companies and get some ideas at least. Or maybe even some examples sometimes of what not to do. What are their biggest challenges and fears, like stage fright, and their biggest challenge becoming a more confident musician? What medium do they use and respond to most on social media? And that could be lots of different things. It could be the social media network, or it could be like video versus a Pinterest board or something like that. So we talked about this example. Okay. Part 2. So commit to at least 6 months. This is from Dan Norris's Instagram. It says, building a content machine takes time. Lucky for you, most people don't have the patience to back something that isn't delivering immediate results. So you're there on the shore building a boat while everyone else is swimming and making a lot more progress than you. So trust me, this is a fantastic opportunity. And if you're thinking, and some of you marketers out here may be thinking that, man, everyone's already so sophisticated, what can we do that hasn't already been done? Trust me, very few people are doing this properly, so it's a massive opportunity no matter what your industry is. But you've got to commit to at least 6 months. So back to you guys are gonna be so tired of this metaphor with the boat and the swimming, but back to the boat. You can't build half a boat. You have to first make sure that you have the resources to build an entire boat, because half a boat isn't gonna do you any good. So you may have to wait and accumulate the resources to build that boat. And that's what I'm talking about with time commitment. So if you only have the resources, the money, the budget, could be the manpower to execute a content marketing strategy for 2 months, you don't have enough to build a boat yet. You've got to commit to at least 6 months because this is a thing that takes time. So accumulate what resources you need to. We've got to plan ahead with this because it's a really brilliant strategy. We've got to plan ahead. So commit to at least 6 months. Hopefully I can send this out in an email or maybe like a blog post we can publish later after this, like Sarah did for us last time. This is what I call your do or die calendar, or sometimes I call it a one-size-fits-all calendar. I literally just put it together in Excel. No fancy tools, no fancy anything. It's not fancy at all. The hardest part about this is just doing it every single day, do or die. So this is just a general, like it wouldn't be exactly the same for every person. You could adjust it for your industry, but or for your client. But this is what you do. Create a calendar and you do it every day for 6 months. And if you're not getting engagement, you didn't get engagement on that Facebook post. Doesn't matter. You still do it again the next day. You didn't feel like that blog post went very well. Doesn't matter. You still publish another blog post the next week. Do or die. This got intense, didn't it? Okay, so now that we understand that, finally we can put the pen to the paper, or more likely, we can type on our computers, content creation. This is not a client of mine. TastyCatering.com. This is just a catering company that's just doing a fantastic job on content marketing. And so I've been following them for about 2 years now. They have a massive email list and they have a corner on the market, a pretty specific market in catering, which is corporate catering in Chicago. That's basically what they blog about, corporate catering in Chicago. So you can see this content, 5 of our favorite holiday party venues in Chicago. So there's a few things going on here. 1, this positions them as an authority. They are the experts on events and doing things like that in Chicago. If you want to know anything about it, you need to ask them. And they're proving their expertise by publishing content. 2, I bet, I haven't searched it, I should have, but I didn't search best holiday party venues in Chicago, but I bet they're up there. So this is going to be really great for Google search now and in the future. And is this article about 5 reasons why you should hire Tasty Catering? No, because no one would want to read that. That sounds really boring. But what is interesting and what people need to know is the best their favorite holiday party venues in Chicago. So remember, your content may not directly sell. Don't try to be the swimmer. You're like, oh, maybe I'm building this boat, but maybe I can swim at the same time. You can't. So, so yeah, your content is not always directly selling. In fact, yeah, almost never should it be directly selling because no one's gonna read that content. It needs to be about what your audience cares about. And it may not even be connected directly to your product. So this has to do with venues. That's not about food at all. So if you had limited yourself to just food, then you would have missed this opportunity, probably lots of opportunities. So don't be afraid to write about things that your audience cares about that may seem to have nothing to do with your product. Here's another example. This is a client of mine, hammockpack.com, which is one of those subscription boxes that are very popular. They take a different location every month and like collect artisanal products from that location, like Austin or Chicago. Every month it's a different location. So are we writing 5 reasons why you should subscribe to Hammock Pack? No. Are we writing 5 reasons why you need another subscription box? I don't know, but no. So someone who would subscribe to that cares about travel. They like to learn about, probably like to read about different locations. And so we write a lot of content for them about different locations around the country. 8 reasons to fall in love with Portland. Has nothing to do with buying a hammock pack, but it's content that our audience cares about. And that's why we create it. And it works really well for them. Okay, almost done here. 2 more things. So number 4 is content distribution. If you write it, they will come is not right. So if you write it, yeah, then there's more work to do. Writing, it's only half of it. So first you create the content that's targeted based on your deep understanding of your audience's desires and needs. And then you have to distribute it. And unfortunately, I wish I could tell you, do this, step 1, do this, step 2, but it's different for every audience. But the good news is that you know your audience really well. I know you do. If you're a business owner, you're a marketer for someone else's company, you work with your clients, you know their audience. So where's your audience hanging out? This could be various places on social media. I mean mostly, when I say hanging out, I mean mostly online, digitally, but it also works in person. I mean, I really like using events. As a way, like with the event I'm having in April, the social media boot camp I just put on. So events is a great in-person inbound marketing thing. But what are they searching Google for? So that's why I don't buy the argument, this doesn't work in my industry or this doesn't work in my company, because everyone's Googling something. What's your audience Googling? And this data is out there as well. So whose influence do they respect and follow? And that could be the Daily Oklahoman for local, or it could be something a lot more targeted, like maybe some kind of a gardening special interest magazine, or if you're B2B, it could be an industry association publication, like the magazines that industries put out. And then this, I did not come up with this, a friend of mine did, another entrepreneur friend of mine, try a bunch of stuff, it's not actually trademarked, but the point is, sometimes you don't know. You have to throw a bunch of stuff against the wall and see what sticks. You have to try a bunch of stuff. So it's not easy, but remember, that's why it's such a huge opportunity for you, because your competitors are giving up. They're like, forget it, this is way too hard. And so that's why this is an opportunity for you. Here's a few ideas for you. Various social media networks, that's a talk in and of itself. Maybe next month we'll all gather and talk about that. Local PR. SEO, influential bloggers, like say fashion bloggers or local, I don't know, like cooking bloggers. You'd be surprised what bloggers are out there. Mommy bloggers are really fantastic area right now. Industry association websites. So if you're B2B, you might think, I should have said this before, this has been kind of a B2C. I've talked a lot about B2C, but this works for B2B as well. So if you're targeting like executives in a certain industry, then industry association websites, or business owners in a certain industry. Yeah, podcasts is a great opportunity as well. And you don't have to start your own podcast either. You could be featured on other people's podcasts. People are always looking for great folks to interview on their podcast. You'd be surprised if you reached out what you might find. I just put this, was that 5 already? Oh, there, okay. All right, so the content marketing funnel, I just put this back here again because now that we've talked about it, hopefully it has a little bit of a different meaning for you. We can see where everything falls here in the funnel. Up here, that's your distribution at the top, then your content creation. Unfortunately, we won't really get a chance to talk about email today, but when you're creating valuable content, you have you basically already have an email marketing strategy, half of it anyway. Because instead of emailing them and saying, hey, do you want to buy something? Then they're just like, no. But if you email them and say, hey, check out this article we produced, or check out this video we created just for you, then you have a reason to contact your audience. So there, you're 50% there already with your email strategy. And then this is the last point here, measure, tweak, and repeat. Again, we won't have time to talk about measurement today. Maybe in the future we can talk about it. But marketing without data is like driving with your eyes closed. So you have to measure sometimes your first hypothesis on what's going to work, whether it be the kind of content your audience cares about, the medium of content that your audience will like, the social media channel you should be on. Sometimes your first hypothesis isn't exactly right, and that's okay. Even if you're a marketer, it happens to all of us because we don't know until we execute. But so that's what we measure, tweak based on, okay, this content was really this video content was really popular this month, whereas this article wasn't as popular. Or man, we're really getting traction on Instagram, but not so much on Facebook. Then you tweak, and then keep going. And this is my final slide, I promise. So these are kind of the things we talked about today. Your blog is not just a useless item on your website and then one more thing on your to-do list that you have to feel guilty about not having done. It can be a massive part of your strategy. And blog is just a word that people understand. I usually prefer content creation, which can be a little ambiguous and get confused with copywriting and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, this is an important part of your strategy. Blog just means free value. So doesn't necessarily mean articles. Giving value and generosity works regardless of industry. It's not about advertising, it's about relationships. This is all about earning trust, proving trust, positioning yourself as an authority, providing value, showing that your business cares about the audience. And finally, if it were easy, all your competitors would be doing it, and they're not. So I hope that you are all sold on blogging and you're all going to build your content marketing funnels now. So I think we're good. So I don't know if I'm supposed to, okay, I can just take questions now? Great. Okay, great. Hi.
Hi. So when it comes to blogging, how do you measure conversions?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one thing you can do is you can measure your email opt-ins on a particular blog page. You can also use Google URL Builder, and I think Google Tag Manager to track your traffic directly from somewhere like Facebook. So you can track traffic directly from one posting of a blog post or any URL really, not just a blog post, and then see this traffic funneled this way. So you can track your conversions, and you can set that all up in Google Analytics. But full disclosure, there can be some problems. So we can use Google Tag Manager to track cookies and see when tag a person and then see when they convert later. However, if you don't have that set up, then you will not be able to see, like if someone discovers your blog on Facebook or something and they don't buy until like several weeks later, then you may not be able to track that that conversion came directly from Facebook. But there are more sophisticated tools being put in place all the time, like Google Tag Manager, that lets you use cookies to tag people and check them. Does that kind of help? Okay. Yeah.
So back to your first step of getting in their head. Do you have any favorite places or stuff that you look for to get great insights about an audience?
Oh, great question. Yeah, so let me think. You can There's so many things you can do. One, you can look at your social media following already. So if you have a nice size Facebook page and it's actually good, like you believe that the people following your Facebook are actually your target audience, that's important. Then you can look at their demographics on Facebook. That doesn't tell you their deepest fears, but it's definitely a good place to start. Another thing you can do, and that we did with Musical You, is you can ask them. Ask them. Like call up your customers and schedule a phone interview if they'd be happy to do that. Or you can send out an email survey. You can't do that unless you have an email list, which is why it's so awesome to build an email list, because then you have that asset and you can do things like create a survey. But yeah, and then when people don't buy your product, there's a lot of email marketing software out there like ActiveCampaign and Infusionsoft that will let you see when people drop out of your funnel, particularly if you do e-commerce. Or maybe you're a salesperson and you've been on the phone with someone and they decide not to buy. Why don't you call them up and ask them why they didn't buy? So this is the legwork that's involved in it. But those are a lot of things you can do. Yeah, that's probably a good start.
You were talking earlier about when you're talking to your clients and someone said, oh, blog, that didn't work. Your client, you're talking about getting to people's heads, so getting your client's heads is another thing. How do you bridge the gap between, well, the client wants this much money, they want this many sales per day, versus, no, your audience is interested in that, and here's why we do what we do with content marketing?
That's a great question, and content marketers all over the world have this challenge for sure. Yeah, so a lot of people that come to work with Charm House have tried other methods and were disappointed because, so I first talked by explaining the disadvantages of like direct advertising and that kind of thing. So for example, with swimming, one thing we didn't talk about, and with ads, it's like a faucet. You have to have a steady flow of money going in all the time. So yeah, a lot of people come to me and because other things haven't worked. And a lot of people have other aims besides just revenue. But yeah, that's a struggle. If you want instant revenue, you probably shouldn't come to me. And that's something I have to tell people all the time, and that's fine if they walk away, because I'm not in the business of driving instant revenue. You know, I'm in the business of building something that's lasting, that's gonna provide you revenue and value for your business like over time. It's a hard sell. We try to make our content marketing explain that, our own content marketing, like our own blog, so, yeah.
So working in social media, I always get asked the question, how often should I post? How much is too much? How much is too little? Do you have any ideas or recommendations in terms of content marketing? How often should you blog post? Is it different for every client, or is there like a strategy or method that you find is appropriate that's not too spammy or it's not too little? What do you kind of recommend in terms of how much you should post per month maybe?
Yeah, great question. You should post as often as you can while still being able to keep up with it. Content creation is pretty labor intensive, so you're likely not going to have the resources to be publishing 5 times a week, but it should be consistent. So if you are posting like 3 days in a row and then you don't post again for a month, you're better off posting like once a week or even once every 2 weeks. However you can be consistent is the best way to do it. And also, since you have to do the measuring, looking at your analytics, figuring out what's working, figuring out what content they like the most, consider that labor too. You've got to do all of that for each of your blog posts. So there's no point in blogging 5 times a week if A, the quality isn't going to be good and very good. It's quality over quantity. And also, you know, you're not able to look at your analytics and figure out what's working. If you don't have the time to do that, don't blog 5 times a week. Just blog like once a week or even once every 2 weeks. Get your system down, and then maybe you can add on as long as you're able to do it consistently. So that's probably what I'd recommend. Any other questions? I'll take the hard ones. No? Okay. Oh, one more? Sure.
Kind of following up from her question about timing and the amount of content. I run this Oklahoma City Dodgers social media accounts, and one of the fears that we have is on Twitter, when you have something that has a window of visibility to your audience for, say, 5 to 15 minutes before it gets lost in audience timeline, what would your strategy be as far as getting people to see those older tweets that may only be like an hour or 2 hours from being posted, but they might not be visible?
Great question. Well, first of all, you guys may have noticed that Twitter is starting to have sort of like a remedial algorithm where they're starting to pick out things that you might be interested in. But so assuming that's not the case though, you retweet, like tweet that stuff again and again. There's actually like a map in The Content Machine, the book I was talking about by Dan Norris, and he tweets like the day it's published, he tweets the next day, and then he keeps it going like, it's like every 4 days, then 7 days later. So just keep it circulating on Twitter. Don't do that on Facebook, but
Right.
yeah. So keep it going. You can also pin it to the top of your, yeah, good, that's great. You can, I was saying you can pin it to the top of your profile. Not everyone's looking at your profile, they're accessing your content in their feed instead. But one thing you can do is just keep posting that content because probably they didn't see it the first time, so post it 20 times over the course of 2 months. Something like that. I think so. Yeah. Thanks, that was fun.